Now, Germany's President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has said his country is facing a situation not seen in 70 years. That's after the Free Democrats walked out of the coalition talks with Chancellor Angela Merkel's party. Steinmeier's urged all sides to get back to the negotiating table. Well, for more, let's cross live to RT's Peter Oliver, who's in Berlin. Peter, what's next for Germany? That's the big question, isn't it?
Well, what's next is we're seeing the President of Germany getting an unusual amount of spotlight. It's a predominantly ceremonial role. It does seem that the only time he has any executive power is when it comes to the decision on who's going to be forming a government. So Frank-Walter Steinmeier has appeared before cameras. He said that he won't let political parties run from their responsibilities. This is after coalition talks broke down. He said that he will hold further talks with representatives of the individual parties that were trying to form this essentially a four-way coalition, and he demands essentially that a coalition be found. Interestingly, though, he said that this was a situation Germany had not found itself in for 70 years.
The task remains. In the elections on the 24th of September, the parties searched for responsibility for this state. That's an order which they have received also on the basis of our constitution, and this order cannot be given back to the citizens and to the voters.
Well, the reason those coalition talks broke down was because Christian Lindner, the head of the Free Democratic Party, a pro-business liberal party here in Germany, he walked out of those talks. He did also give a statement on Monday saying that as he'd done that, it wasn't a decision he made lightly. But as we can hear from him, just after he walked out of those talks, it certainly doesn't seem like he was coming to an agreement with anybody in that room anytime soon.
We will not abandon our voters for a policy with which we are not convinced. It is better not to govern than to govern badly.
Well, the Green Party, for their side, who are also part of this negotiation that was going on, they've said that at the time the Free Democrats walked out, they were close to a deal that, in their words, would have been an improvement for refugees, and say that only didn't get signed because the Free Democrats walked out. But what about the other big player in German politics, the Social Democrats? There was a chance they could come back in, form a coalition with Angela Merkel, as they had done before the election, and everything would be fine. Well, their leader and former European Parliament President Martin Schulz has spoken to the cameras. He said there will be no grand coalition, as it's known, with Angela Merkel. He did say that if there were fresh elections, that he would consider running again against Angela Merkel. And in terms of the options that were available, one option, apart from fresh elections, is a minority government with Angela Merkel as its head. He said that simply wasn't the right move for Germany, considering how weak it would make the government and what role Germany has to play on the world stage. So where does this leave us? It essentially leaves us with one of three options. Either a coalition deal gets done, a minority government is allowed to rule the Bundestag, or we all go back for new elections that would probably take place early next year or in the spring at the latest.
OK, that's RT's Peter Oliver bringing us all the latest. Well, we spoke to a number of experts who think the era of Merkel could be drawing to an end.
The problem is the stubbornness of Mrs. Merkel to go with her objectives into this coalition. She cannot continue with the mass migration policies. She cannot continue with the euro crisis policy she did. And the Free Democrats understood this and they said, no, stop. This is an end and we cannot do it. And I think that was a very wise decision, and we are looking for another political future in Germany. Today we can say that the end of the Merkel era has begun. They have to reorganize their leadership, they have to reorganize their policy, they have to understand that illegal mass migration policy cannot be a future product for German politics.
It's one possibility with a minority government, but it's not easy to have a minority government because, of course, then the leading forces are dependent on other actors. I think it's a bit irresponsible to, if we see in a future perspective new elections, that doesn't stabilize the country.